All right, guys, welcome to how to deadlift in 4 minutes or less. I'm just going to show you a couple of reps here. I am doing a mixed grip. Some people prefer double overhand. I think you have more power and a little bit better grip with a mixed grip, one hand under, one hand over, but that's totally up to personal preference. Now let's get into the first part of the deadlift. The most important in my mind is making sure that the bar is in line with your midfoot. You don't want to be too close, right, where you're not even in your hip hinge yet and you're already touching the bar with your shins. And you don't want to be too far away where you're going to have to round to pick it up. You also don't want your knees caved in, your toes caved in, and you don't want your feet turned out too much, maybe 10 degrees of foot flare, and making sure the bar is in line with the middle of your foot. This is non-negotiable. Make sure that you have the bar in the middle of your foot, right in line, perfectly in line. Another non-negotiable is making sure you start this motion from your hips. Some people can start their squat from their hips or driving their knees out, but the deadlift, you need to initiate through the hips before you begin bending the knees. If you start this from your back or from your knees, you're going to be in a very compromised position. So make sure you start by hinging your hips. Next up, the most misunderstood part of the lift is lat engagement. Making sure you're bending the bar is a really good cue, or protecting your armpits. I'm going to show you what I mean with this band. Literally pulling the bar close to you. Armpits are squeezing close to your body tight to get your lats involved. If the lats are involved, you're going to have a stronger pull. Now, we're looking at this deadlift. Here I am, strong grip, pulling the slack out of the bar, pulling my lats in tight. And there it is. You see I kind of unshrug my shoulders really tight. I'm squeezing the bar, and listen for pulling the slack out of the bar. And now we're going to go back to the top for the breathe and brace. You want to take a deep breath into your gut. I like to start through my nose and then my mouth. Then you get your setup. So you hinge from your hips, slight bend in the knees until your shins just touch the bar. Break the bar or bend the bar. Protect your armpits, whatever you tell yourself to get your lats involved. And if you need to, again, at the bottom, rebreathe and brace. More breath in, more breath, as much as you can, and brace it down. The more breath you have, the more brace you have, the stronger your core will be. All right, so now that we've breathed and braced and gotten our setup correctly and have a good grip on the bar, it's time to talk about your back. If you start with a nice neutral spine, you will most likely end in one. If you start in a rounded spine, you will end in a rounded spine. If you start in a rounded spine, there it is again, you'll end in a horrible position, like the worst position for your back. And if you start in a neutral spine and you start lifting from your hips first, you'll have no choice but to throw yourself forward and angle it up. And then at the lockout here, I see this a lot. This is something I see with a lot of people, is hyperextension at the top. Don't do that either. So full breakdown. I'm taking my big breath in, hinging from my hips, got a good grip, got my lats involved, pulling the slack out of the bar, slight bend in the knee just until my shins actually touch that bar, just barely brush the bar. And then I come to the top, I squeeze my glutes tight, and then I rebreathe and brace for my next rep if I'm doing multiple repetitions. That is how to do a deadlift.